you're famous for using the harmonic percolator on your sound.
Right.
So I have 2 clones of this, and I cannot get that sound out of any of these clones. And I've seen you use a clone in a video, and you were not very happy with it. Is it just the original one that only works, or?
There is a duplicate. There are copies that are being made by, or that were being made by a guy named Collins, Dan Collins, something Collins. And I've seen those come into the studio, and those are, as near as I can tell, those are identical to my old ones. Now, having said that, I had several old ones. I think I had a total of 3 over the years, and all 3 of them sounded slightly different. Okay. So there were variations in sound. They use germanium parts, and germanium parts are temperature sensitive. So, like, it would sound different depending on the stage conditions. You know, if it was getting hit by the lights, it would heat up and it would be thinner sounding. Like, there's, yeah. And then a lot of it is like a lot of the sort of overblown aspect of the percolator that might have to do with the setup, the particular amplifier setup that I have. Like, I have a transistor amp and a tube amp running simultaneously, and the percolator into the transistor amp makes a very even, very squared off trebly sound. Into the tube amp, it tends to be more sort of low end. It tends to behave more like the tubes are being overdriven than that there's a fuzz. So, and the combination of those two is what makes the sustaining sound that I like.
I see. There's
an aspect of the percolator that where the guitar sort of plays itself. Like, I always use it all the way open, like, you know, both the sliders all the way at the top. And when I hit the button, I really don't have to do very much. The guitar just starts playing itself. Like, there's microphonic feedback and the sustaining string feedback, like all that stuff just goes kind of automatically no matter what I do. And that's one of the things that I like about it. And that doesn't seem to happen with other fuzz tones. I don't know why. I don't know why that particular aspect is so prominent in the percolator. Now, in the 80s, right after the Interfax dude that made the harmonic percolators, right after he died, a friend of mine made a copy of it. He just like drew a quick schematic of the circuit, and then he made a copy of it, not being careful about the parts or anything, just duplicating the circuit using whatever components he had laying around in his shop. And that sounds almost identical to the percolator that I had at the time.
Right.
You know, it's a very simple circuit, and it can't be that difficult to make it sound good. But a lot of people do get hung up on having, like, you know, special vintage era parts and stuff. I don't know that that's that significant.
Right. I mean, if I remember right, you know, seeing someone like tear open the original percolator, it was all gummed up anyway. It was hard to see. The
dude that made him was, because it's such a simple circuit, right? If it got popular, it would be very easy to be duplicated. So he hid all the components or sanded off the values of the components inside the percolators. So you'd have to discern the values by testing. That said, it's a dead simple circuit. So, and it's been published many times. So if you want to build one, you could probably build one. The one of the other, like, sort of odd aspects of my guitar setup is that in front of the harmonic percolator, I use a noise gate pedal. And the noise gate pedal acts as a buffer, and even when it's switched off, it's lowering the impedance of the guitar signal into the harmonic percolator. Mm-hmm. So that may have something to do with the way the harmonic percolator is behaving when it's fuzzing and when it's at the most extreme settings. I've never A-B'd the sound with and without the noise gate.
Sure.
But I would assume that it sounded slightly different just because the circuit would be reacting differently to the different source impedance.
Makes sense. I've done the same thing because I'll run a noise gate before fuzz and overdrive. It gives you a different tone for sure.
It's weird. Like, bands come into the studio all the time now with these like super elaborate pedal boards. You know, like it's really uncommon to have somebody just plug into an amplifier anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like, essentially every band shows up and everybody in the band has a pedal board that's got a bunch of different pedals on it.
Right.
I've only ever used just the one fuzz tone. So, and I use it for maybe 4% of the set, you know, something like that. Like a few moments of insult in the whole show I'm using the percolator. It does strike me as slightly odd that it has become that one pedal has become kind of a touchstone for a lot of people when it's hardly ever on.